How you doing, Mr. Earl?
Okay, man, that's William Earl Brooks Jr.
All right.
Yeah,
Where were you born?
Chicago, man.
Uh-huh.
May 6, 1947.
Okay. How many siblings do you have?
Well, let's see. Recorded and known for the record. Was Audrey, Barbara, Millicent, Princella, and let's see, our father would have been Earl Brooks Sr., who married Geraldine Brooks.
Which is your mother?
That's the bloodline. Started with the mother, Geraldine Brooks. Well, it was Randall. It was Geraldine Randall. And Randall's was the family name.
Do you know how your mother met Mr. Brooks?
Well, they were little kids down in Sessoms, Mississippi. They were spent time in a town called Tupelo, Mississippi, where Elvis Presley was also born. Geraldine used to babysit for Elvis Presley and the little boys when they played outside. Yeah, so she knew them very well.
Okay.
Okay, so they met as, I'm sorry, I didn't finish answering the question. So they met as little kids, and then they split up because they came to Chicago at different times.
Okay.
But once they were up here and the war came out, they got reacquainted and fell in love again as teenagers. And then once he went to the service, he got out of the service, and that's when they went on and got married, 1947. 47.
So you're the first child?
Yeah, I'm the first child of Geraldine and Earl.
Okay. What do you remember about your father?
Not a whole lot, because he died when he was 31, and I was 9 years old. I remember he was a very ambitious man. He worked for the Board of Elections, and he wanted to try to buy property, and he was always promoting businesses and things like that. And he talked a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, did a lot of talking.
You said he was 31 when he had passed?
Yeah, you remember now, I was 1956. The Civil Rights Movement got started in 1955. So that was the big talk of everything. When are we going to do something about the fact that black people couldn't vote? We didn't have opportunities in education, didn't have opportunities for voting, and then we couldn't go everywhere. There was a lot of places where black people were restricted. We couldn't go to various lunch counters and education. So we didn't. A lot of doors were closed to us, and he was trying to open the doors back up.
I see. You all lived on Oak Street. in the city. And what was that area primarily? Was it kind of mixed at the time? Or
Well,
was
at that particular time, it was mixed.
Okay.
There was no real segregation then, because everybody came from certain places. Appalachian whites, which we call hillbillies, came from the east, primarily West Virginia, Virginia, South Carolina. Then you had the southernmost blacks coming from Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and Arkansas. And they migrated primarily to Chicago and settled in Chicago. Most of them settled, first of all, on the north side. They would come up here, and you didn't have to worry about any money because it was just customarily to put everybody up for 6 months to give them time to get a job or put some money together so that they could get an apartment on their own.
Right. The building on Hamlin, or did your father find
Now,
it?
Hamlin was 1905, and she.
Oh, you mean 1950?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
1950. They bought the building. They bought it in 1950. And remember, she came up here between 35 and 40. So they both worked a while. He went in the service. He got out of the service, and they worked. And
What did your mom do?
saved up. She primarily did domestic work, whatever was paying the highest wages, and domestic work, cleaning houses,
Okay.
basically. And she finished high school.
Okay.
She was the first female in the family to finish high school.
Wow. Wow. It's amazing. What do you remember the most about your mother? If you could describe her.
Well, she was pretty ambitious and rough. She was mean. Oh, well, all of them were mean back then. But she was pretty mean. She was strict, very strict lady. Her and my father didn't really get it on until after they were married. They didn't have a whole lot of messing around. They did have some, but not much. And she wanted to make sure that we all got a good education, that we all finished high school, and that we stayed out of trouble and stayed in church. Yeah, so and so she primarily was a housewife after they got married in 1950. So from 1950 to 1956, she was pretty much a housewife.
Okay.
And but she was having kids. She had 4 kids between 1950 and 1954.
Okay.
She had 4 babies. So that's why she told my father, either you get me a house or else, because I'm having babies too fast. Gotta have a house.
Right. And so, so your next sibling after you is it Audrey?
It's Audrey.
Okay. And then after her is Barbara?
Barbara.
Okay.
Yeah, Audrey has her nursing license, and Barbara has a master's, and the child after her, Millicent, has another. She has the BS. She has the nursing degree from University of Iowa.
Wow. So, when you were in your childhood, what do you remember most? Like, did you have a lot of close? Like, what type of person were you when you were a young man? Like, were you kind of a very talkative guy? Were you kind of shy? Were you kind
I was shy.
ladies' man?
I was shy. No, I wish I had been. No, I wasn't a ladies' man. No, I was. See, my father died at 9 when I was 9. So that's about the age you start finding out about things and getting in trouble between, I always say, 9 and 15. So my father died when I was 9, so my mother had to be very strict. Your great grandmother ran our house. She was the one that took care of us while my mother went to work. My mother had to go to work after my father died in 1956. So she started working. So I couldn't get in much trouble because I had your grandmother, her sister, which was my mother, and another aunt, which was 3 sisters. We called the 3 sisters. The 3 sisters lived in the building at 1504 South Hamlin. So they looked after me and made sure I stayed out of trouble pretty much. Plus, I was in a lot of activities.
Okay.
Like the Boy Scouts, and I swam. I was good at swimming, and academics was emphasized, and I took advantage of what was available. I came along at a very opportune time because they had a lot of scholarships available as a result of the 1955 Civil Rights Act, which opened the doors to black people going to equal education. Brown versus Board of Education took place in 1954, but it became reality about 1955, 56, 57. So I got a lot of scholarships behind that. Plus I went to a high school which at that particular time was predominantly white.
What high school was that, by the way?
Now that was Farragut High School.
Oh, okay.
At that time. And what they did, I did just like the Japanese told the British when they defeated them. You see what a monkey does, you do what a monkey do, and you'll learn how to get through the jungle. So I learned how to get through the jungle. I did what they did. Did the things.
Wow. So then, like, after high
Oh,
school...
me and Pat Sajak were in the orchestra together.
Really?
Yeah.
From Wheel of Fortune?
Farragut, Wheel of Fortune.
Really?
Pat Sajak, yeah. He and I played trombone in front of him. He played the violin in back of me.
Wow. Interesting.
Orchestra.
And so, after high school, what did you do? Did you
Well,
went to college?
I went to college and law school.
What made you interested in law, by the way?
Well, I always was interested, but I didn't know how I was going to get there. But some scholarships became available. In the year that I graduated, the Big Ten, it was 10 schools that made up the Big Ten Conference. Each one of them decided to give a scholarship to a minimum 5 black students. And I was one of the black students at the University of Iowa that was able to get a full scholarship.
Wow.
And then my baby sister, my younger sister, should I say, Millicent, was able to get a nursing scholarship.
Wow, that is an achievement.
Yeah,
wow.
We took advantage of some of the opportunities available.
You went to the University of Iowa. Was it a big adjustment for leaving home and being on your own and doing your own thing?
It was, but what else could you do?
Yeah.
Your relatives like Uncle John, Uncle Charlie, and your grandfather made sure that I stayed in school. They wasn't gonna have no dropping out of school or getting in trouble.
Right.
They kept an eye on me, and I tried to straighten up and do right.
So then, once you got your degree in college and everything, you moved back to Chicago, or how did that go?
Yeah. I just went away to school, and then I came back after I graduated.
And so when you came back, is that when you established your own practice, or like
Yeah,
how did that all start?
Yeah. I started off as a state's attorney.
Okay.
And got established, and then I worked for somebody for 7 years in the neighborhood. And then I got on my own for another 30 years.
Wow.
And I retired.
What was like the most challenging aspect of being a lawyer, would you say, for you personally?
Well, just trying to be honest. To stay honest, it's a lot easier to get off into things that are not as honest as they could be. But I managed to be involved in a little politics. I was very active in the church organizations. I got ordained as a minister in one of the family churches, which was Fellowship Baptist Church.
Clay Evans?
Clay Evans. I was associate minister there. And I also was privileged to represent the group of men who were really founders of the digital age. When I say digital, back in 1983, they were doing a feasibility study to see if Chicago could handle the surgence of digital that was coming aboard. But they wanted to do a study first, and they figured they needed about 8 million in order to do a study to determine if businesses could change over to digital and digital become a reality. And I represented those about 16 black men and ministers who were going to be engaged in having digital equipment in their church and their offices. And I made it a reality. So that's about my biggest achievement.
One of your proudest achievements, because I was going to ask you, what is your most proudest achievement in your life?
Well,
thus
that was it.
far?
That was it. I represented a lot of our people on a lot of cases, but there is what you call client
Right.
privilege. I can't
disclose.
tell you who was in trouble, but it was a lot of them. And I'm happy to say that I was able to help a lot of them to improve themselves.
So you eventually had gotten married, right?
Right. I had 3
how did you meet?
kids.
Yeah, how did you meet your wife?
Well, I met my wife through a mutual friend who was a school teacher at her school, and he had been my 7th grade teacher when I was in grammar school.
Okay.
So that's how we did it.
And what year did you all get married?
We got married 1970, I want to say 73.
Oh, 73.
Yeah,
Okay. And then you had your first son, Robert.
Yeah, Robert. And then had Meredith and Elliot. Robert and started driving the truck when he found out during the pandemic that he could do better driving a truck than anything else. And he did very well financially. And my second oldest child, she's a lawyer in London, and that's Meredith. But they have her assigned all over Europe. Then the baby boy is in marketing, chemical engineer out in California, in San Martino.
Right.
So when you have the same father, you don't
Yeah. Call them
step
stepbrothers. They're your brothers, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bobby and James Otis.
And
their names.
were you closer to one? Is there one you were really super close to, or you were really
there's
close
one
to
I'm really close to, and that's Bobby.
Bobby, okay.
Who's still living. And he's a big time real estate man. He owns 13 pieces of real estate.
Wow.
In the St. Louis area. Really nice pieces of property.
Now, James Otis.
James Otis died. He was a, well, I don't want to say victim of crime, of a crime.
Circumstance.
What happened was he survived a shooting.
Okay.
He actually survived the shooting, but he didn't. He got choked on a hot dog. He
Really?
didn't survive that.
Oh, wow. Wow.
But he was a young man at 31.
Oh, he was a young guy when he died.
Yeah, the same age as
your dad?
Of my father.
Wow. Oh, I didn't know he was a young guy when he passed.
Yeah, he was.
Wow. Where did he reside?
He was in St. Louis.
Oh, he was in St. Louis too? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Bobby came up to St. Louis and just recently moved to Florida.
So you primarily resided in River Forest for a good portion of your life?
I was there 14 years.
Oh, okay.
And, yeah, pretty much. As an adult. What it was, yeah.
Is that?
I was married for 30 years. We were in River Forest for about 14 years.
Oh, okay.
Those years.
So when you had married Miss Roberta, where did you all live? Your first place? Did you?
We
You remember?
lived Oak Park,
Oh, you lived in Oak Park.
and
Okay.
then Maywood
Okay.
and River Forest.
Oh, okay. Okay. You're in the same vicinity.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I never wanted, I don't think a father should be more than 20 minutes from his family, wherever he lives. He shouldn't be more than 20 minutes so that if they need him to go see about his kids, he'll have a chance to do it without it taking a lot of time.
Right. Like with each one of your children, so like with Robert, what is the greatest memory you have with Robert, if you can think of one?
Well, he was a war hero. He was in the Iraq War, not because of me. And he was always a very energetic baby. He had lots of friends. He was a joy to raise, and everybody loved him.
Okay. Now, what about Meredith? What is the memory
Meredith
you have?
was good also. She was loved very much. She was a girl, of course, and at first she had a rough time getting into the law practice, but she found her way around and ended up with Amazon in Europe.
That's a blessing. And then with Elliot, what's a memory you got with Elliot?
And Elliot had spent time in China while still in college.
Right.
And then he graduated and started working, worked about 2 years. He took a vacation from his job in China, and they decided that they wanted to keep him. One of the people here in Medline wanted to keep him. And so he's been there ever since.
And so that's what makes you proud of him?
Oh, very much so.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Now, you are a grandfather, right?
Yeah, I'm a grandfather to 2 children, and got another one on the way. So I should be looking at my 3rd one, probably the first of this year.
Okay.
My baby son, Elliot, and his wife, Gabriella, are expecting. And they have a child now who's a little over a year old. And then Meredith, my second daughter, doesn't have any children yet. But Robert, my oldest son, has a son named Christian up in
is it Muskegon?
Michigan, Muskego, Michigan.
Okay. If you have any advice to give to your grandchildren, what would you like to give them?
Well, pray and study hard. Tell everybody work hard and stay out of trouble.
What cousins were the closest to you? Like, because I'm sure a lot of your cousins were almost like brothers and sisters, and I'm just wondering which particular cousins were closest to you growing up,
Well,
if you had any.
I gotta say, your grandfather, Tom, he pushed a lot because he was on the verge of completing college, but he didn't do it like a lot of people did. They would finish high school and then they had to work
Right.
to support the household. So that's what he did. He was very influential. He and Uncle John, and there was 7 brothers. He had seven uncles. My mother's 7 brothers. They all stayed on me, and they said that they was gonna kick my behind if I messed up. So I tried not to mess up. You never hear about me because my specialty was collegiate swimming in college.
Right.
And they didn't have no blacks doing us collegiate swimming then.
Wow. Did you experience a lot of racism when you were out there in Iowa, or it really wasn't too
Well,
bad?
yeah, I did, and then my first cousins here in Chicago area experienced it too, but it was just something you lived with.
Yeah, I was just talking about more or less in Iowa, though.
Yeah, well, Iowa was a matter of innocence.
Okay.
They didn't know enough about us to be angry with us. I used to always say, because it just wasn't any out there. When I went to Iowa, I was the first black that many white people had a chance to meet or learn anything about. So they didn't know how to be nasty to it. They said, well, maybe he is. Maybe he ain't that bad at all. Yeah.
Now, with your grandmother, Miss Angeline, that's her name, right?
Yep.
Do you because she had died like in the 60s or something like that, right? Am I
She
correct?
died in 60, I think 68 or 69.
Okay, so you were you were pretty much an adult when she died.
Yeah, when she died, I was my freshman year in college.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What do you remember about her?
Solid as a rock, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, she raised 14 kids, and she knew something about every one of them, and she was very resilient, just a strong lady. And there's one regret that she had, and that was that her husband didn't have a chance to really raise the last 3 boys. He didn't have a chance to raise them the way he did his first 4 sons.
Okay.
First 4 sons he raised and was very proud of. But the last 3 he passed before they became adults.
Now, did he pass before you were born, or was it?
Yeah, he passed in 1934.
Oh, okay.
Or was it 35? Something like that.
Okay.
And then I was born 47.
Right.
So I didn't have a chance to meet him.
So with Angeline, like what type of person was she a talkative? Was she kind of shy? Was she reserved?
Well, she was like
firecracker.
like women were supposed to be in those days.
Okay.
Quiet and stay in the kitchen. And that's where she was. She was very reserved. She was not very talkative.
Okay.
And She kept a orderly house, and she kept all her kids in order.
Mm-hmm.
None of her kids went to jail or got in trouble, even though it was, like I said, 14 of them.
Right. Where did she reside the last years of her life? Was it down south in Mississippi or?
No, it was up here in Chicago.
Oh, it was in Chicago? Okay.
Pretty much between all of her kids.
Oh, okay.
Here in the Chicago area.
Oh, okay.
Your grandfather spent a lot of time at her house.
Oh, he did. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, with the Moorish Science Temple, do you know the whole story of that?
Well, the Moorish Science Temple started about 1930.
Mm-hmm.
It was a upwardly industrial movement among the black community. The black community at that time had many residents in all of the major cities, particularly New York, Detroit, and Chicago. And most of they are really the predecessors of the black Muslim movement in the Midwest, of which Muhammad Ali was a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And they recruited mostly black people who came to the north side of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And amongst the recruits were our relatives and friends. And one of the ways of announcing this membership was through the naming of your own name. That is, changing your name from what it was to something more African, Il or Bay or Shima did, something like that. In other words, if your name was Tom Randall L., it became Tom Randall X or Tom Randall Bay or something like that. And a lot of them have children that still carry the name, changing of the name to that.
Was it Uncle Fred? Was he the one that kind of?
Yeah, he pushed it more than anybody else because he was here earlier
Than everybody.
than everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
But a lot of his grandkids, the male, that's who it really affected. They got rid of the Bay or the ill part. There's this E-L and Bay, B-E-Y.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with Aunt Frances, I heard she had her own restaurant at one point. Is that true?
They had a restaurant on the north side, and it was one of the first ones owned by blacks in the city of Chicago.
Wow. Wow. Do you know how long she had it? Was it a couple years?
Oh, at least 5 years.
Oh, okay. Now I heard she had a daughter.
That was special.
Okay.
That's what we call them now. Special. You don't
Special needs.
say
Handicap.
deformed or whatever.
Right.
Had she lived, she would have probably been able to pass through society in a normal way.
Okay. She was really young when she passed.
Yes, she was.
Oh, okay. And so with Aunt Frances, did she primarily live next to Uncle John?
Well, in the beginning, 1949, all three of them bought lots in the same area
Blue Island.
in Posen.
Oh, Posen, right.
Posen.
Right.
And she lived there until about 1973,
Mm-hmm.
and then she moved to St. Anne, near Kankakee,
Right.
Illinois.
Oh, okay. And she, now her husband was named Van, right?
Yeah, her husband was famous.
Famous.
Famous, yes. Yeah, he was an industrial, hard-working man.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yeah,
My dad said something to the fact he was kind of like a little short, dark man.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, you keep that whiskey from him after 6 o'clock, he was okay. But anything before 6, no, he had a rough time. But they made it until he died,
Mm-hmm.
and then she died shortly after him.
Okay. Matter of fact, I got his obituary at the house.
Oh, you do?
Yep. Because my grandfather, he saved, and so did my father. They saved all the obituaries, and I got Van's obituary. Yep.
Oh, I'd like to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. Next time I come, I'll be sure to bring it.
Oh,
Yeah. Man. So, like with all of the uncles that were around you, which one did you like the most?
Oh.
Or you could relate to the most, or
I
whatever.
don't.
Or it was kind of equal.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Didn't have a favorite uncle.
Not exactly. I
Okay.
favored some a little above
Uh-huh.
the others, but not really.
Not really too much.
Because they didn't let you get close like men do now.
Right.
Men and boys, or men and young men,
Mm-hmm.
a lot closer than they were when we were growing up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was kind of like they had a little bit more of a tougher persona.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they really didn't show their loving side, I guess you could
No,
say.
no.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this. It's kind of, I'm assuming, very difficult in those times of when Uncle John and all of his siblings, buying property and such. Do you know how they were able to work that out to own property where they were at? I mean,
Well, it was mostly the grandfather clause.
Okay.
He knows A knows B knows
Okay, connections.
W over here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because what had happened was a man owned some estates, some big lots, real big lots.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave it to one, then one sold it to all three of them.
Wow.
Yeah, you had three of them. John, Uncle John, Uncle Charlie,
Mm-hmm.
A. Lolly, Uncle Fred.
Mm-hmm.
All four of them.
Wow.
All four of them participated in buying big lots because that's what they wanted to be, was farmers.
Mm-hmm.
But farming, you need a whole lot of property. They didn't quite have enough to make a big profit.
Mm-hmm.
But they made some money.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they did. Yeah. Wow. And what part of Mississippi is our origins from?
What they call North Mississippi.
North Mississippi.
Starksville.
Starksville. Okay.
Starksville.
Columbus and all that.
And then south of Starksville is Sessoms and Columbus.
And what's the other one? Oka Okatiba or something like
Talking
that?
about Oklahoma.
Oh, is it Okolona? Okay. Okay.
Yeah, well, you got the counties too now.
Oh yeah,
If you
right.
want to name the counties.
Yeah, because I know
But
Maddie's.
theirs was Octavia County.
Okay. Okay. Over your life, is there some things that you wish you had the chance to accomplish, or did you pretty much accomplish majority of the things you wanted to do
Well,
in life?
I was fortunate. I accomplished pretty much what I wanted to. I had a little interest in oil and gas, but I wasn't able to really do as much as I wanted to in the oil and gas field because it's so expensive. And if I recover and get a good prosthesis, I might go back into looking into some oil and gas.
Well, to wrap this up, is there anything you would like to share with the younger generation, or any wisdom or advice?
Well, I just want them to keep it going. Don't let it die. Keep having the reunions and try to help each other. I had suggested that we start a foundation to keep money around to help people that were in trouble.
This was a great interview, man. I appreciate you. I learned a lot today. This was amazing. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.